Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're zeroing in on something really important if you're eyeing those graduate trainee roles.
Absolutely. We're talking about assessment centers.
Exactly. They can seem, well, pretty daunting, like a big maze. But for you, the learner, really getting what they're about is, I think, the key to feeling confident.
And, a lot of really capable candidates get intimidated just because it's unfamiliar territory.
Right.
So our mission today is basically to shed some light on this. We've looked at an article that really breaks down what assessment centers are, why companies use them, and crucially, how you can tackle them effectively.
Consider it your shortcut to understanding this whole stage.
Precisely.
Okay, so let's jump right in. What is an assessment center? It sounds, well, kind of like a testing lab for job applicants.
That's not a bad way to think about it initially. Fundamentally, it's a system companies use, especially for those entry-level and graduate roles, to evaluate candidates.
System. Okay.
But it's way more than just interviews lined up. It's like a whole evaluation using different methods to get a proper sense of your abilities.
So it's not just answering questions one-on-one then?
Not at all. The article points out it usually involves a mix of things, tests for different skills, different kinds of interviews, and often group tasks, teamwork stuff.
Ah, group work.
Yeah, so employers get a much fuller picture of your skills, your knowledge, even how you interact, compared to just a single interview.
That makes a lot of sense from their side. They want to see you actually doing things, not just talking about them.
Exactly right. The main goal for them is to try and predict how you'd actually perform in the job.
Okay.
So they'll often use things like situational judgment tests, SJTs they're sometimes called.
Situational judgment, like what would you do if?
Precisely, hypothetical workplace scenarios. You might also do presentations, group discussions where they watch how you collaborate.
See your communication style?
Yes, exactly. Role-playing exercises too, maybe some problem-solving tasks that test how you think analytically. SJTs are interesting because they can gauge cultural fit and decision-making under pressure, which is harder to get from direct questions.
Wow, okay. That sounds pretty comprehensive. The article also mentioned these are really common here in Nigeria, particularly for graduate jobs. Why is that? Why this method?
Well, it's partly about the sheer volume, a large pool of graduates applying. Assessment centers give companies a structured, standardized way to pick out the most promising people from potentially thousands of applications.
Standardized so it feels fair.
That's a big part of it, yeah. The article suggests it's seen as a way to make the process fair and transparent when you've got so much talent to sort through.
Got it. So if you're aiming for a graduate job at a big company in Nigeria, chances are high you'll hit one of these. What kinds of companies are we talking about?
Yeah, it's pretty widespread in sectors with lots of grad applications. The article gives some solid examples in Nigeria. Banking for sure. I think GT Bank, UBA, First Bank, Access Bank, they use them quite a bit for their trainee programs.
Okay, banking's a big one. What else?
Telecoms is another major area. Companies like Airtel, Tesla, Nine Mobile, now Globacom, they often use assessment centers.
Right.
And then, of course, the big four accounting firms. KPMG, Deloitte, EY, PwC, they rely heavily on them for screening candidates.
So finance, professional services,
Yeah.
definitely heavy users. Any other big industries?
Oh, yeah. The oil and gas sector, too, both the big multinationals and indigenous firms, they use them for technical roles, engineering, support staff, and other large corporations like Dango Group, Nestle Nigeria, they often have them as part of their hiring.
It seems like it covers a lot of ground then.
It really does. And it raises a point, do assessment centers for technical roles look different from business ones? Often, yes. More focus on technical problem solving, specific aptitude tests?
Makes sense. And like the article said, it's not just about your degree results, is it?
Not at all. The core idea for these companies is to really gauge potential. Find those high flyers who will likely thrive in their specific culture and work style. It's about evaluating talent more broadly than just grades on paper. They're looking at those interpersonal skills, how you apply what you know. Think of the tests as like objective tools for checking aptitudes and behaviors.
Okay, right. So, you might face one. The big question then is, how do you actually prepare? The article had quite a few tips for the learner. What are the key ones?
This is where you can really make a difference, being proactive. And the article gives some great practical advice. First up, really research the company, properly research them.
Go beyond just the homepage.
Definitely. Understand their background, sure, but also their core values. What do they say? Guides them. Check out their social media, recent news, or press releases. Get a feel for what they're focused on right now.
Why is that so important during the assessment center itself?
Yeah.
I mean, doing homework is obvious, but how does it help in the moment?
Well, knowing their mission, their current projects, even recent challenges, it lets you tailor how you respond throughout the day. It signals real interest to the assessors. They notice that.
Ah, I see.
You can subtly weave in your understanding of their world into your answers or contributions. It shows you're not just firing off applications everywhere, but you're invested in this specific company.
So how deep should you go? Is the About Us page enough?
Yeah.
Or are we talking news articles, employee reviews?
A mix is probably best. Get the official story from them, but also try to find examples of those values in action, maybe through news or what people say online. Gives you a rounded view.
Okay, good tip. Shows genuine engagement. What's next on the preparation list?
Next big one, practice psychometric tests.
Right, those aptitude tests.
Exactly. The article explains lots of assessment centers use them. They measure things like cognitive ability, personality traits, problem solving, numerical, verbal, logical reasoning. These tests often come from established psychological models, aiming for more objectivity than just an interview.
So it's like giving your brain a pregame workout.
That's a great way to put it. By practicing, and loads of resources are online, some free, some paid, you get faster and more accurate. You get used to the question types, the time pressure, less likely to be thrown off on the day.
Good advice. What about talking about yourself, your skills and achievements?
Yes, that's number 3. You really need to sit down and reflect. Think about your studies, any clubs or societies, part-time jobs, internships.
Right, everything counts.
Pretty much. Identify key things you achieved and the skills you used. Teamwork, leadership, communication, problem solving, those transferable skills.
And the article mentioned a specific way to structure those examples.
It did, yeah. The STAR method. Situation, task, action, result. Really useful framework.
Ah, STAR. So instead of just saying, I'm a good team player, you describe a situation, what you needed to do, what you specifically did, and what happened because of it.
Exactly. It makes your claims concrete, believable, and much easier for the assessors to remember. They want real examples, not just vague statements.
Okay, so research, test practice, STAR stories, what else? Any practical stuff?
Definitely. Practicalities matter. Dress code is important.
Looking the part.
Yes. Dress professionally, aligning with the company's vibe. For most corporate roles, think formal business wear. It's all part of that crucial first impression, clean, neat, appropriate clothes.
Makes sense. It can boost your own confidence too, right?
Totally. And then on the actual day, punctuality, absolutely critical.
Non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable. The article says aim for at least 30 minutes early. Plan your journey, traffic, parking, whatever could delay you. Being on time shows you're reliable and respect their time.
Good point. Don't want to arrive stressed and rushing.
No way. And once you're there, really listen carefully to instructions. Pay close attention to the guidelines for every task, any feedback they give.
Maybe take notes.
The article suggests that, helps keep you organized, make sure you're answering what they actually asked. It's easy to miss details under pressure.
True. And then confidence. How do you strike that balance?
It's key. The article points out confidence affects how you're perceived. Speak clearly, make eye contact, participate actively in group stuff. But importantly, it's not about being loud or dominating.
Right.
It's about being sure of your contributions, ready to engage thoughtfully, not aggressively.
A fine line sometimes. What about interacting with the other candidates there?
That's an interesting one. The article actually encourages networking during breaks. Chat politely, share backgrounds, interests.
Seems counterintuitive, aren't they? Competition.
Well, yes, but it can help you. You might pick up different ways people are approaching things. It can ease your own nerves connecting with others in the same boat.
Reduce anxiety.
Exactly. And you might even make useful contacts for the future. These could be your future colleagues, right?
True. But be professional about it, I guess.
Absolutely. The article stresses that. Be polite, approachable, professional throughout. No exceptions.
Got it. And lastly, asking questions. There's usually a chance for that. How should the learner handle that?
Use that opportunity. Ask thoughtful questions. Shows you're engaged and seriously considering them.
What kind of questions work best?
Things about the graduate program itself, mentorship, the work environment, what's expected of new joiners. Good, insightful stuff.
What not to ask?
Definitely avoid anything you could easily find on their website with a quick search. That suggests you haven't done that basic research we talked about
Right,
earlier.
undermines the preparation.
Exactly.
Right.
The goal is to get real insights to help you decide if the company is a good fit for your career, too. It's a two-way assessment, really.
A two-way street. Good point. So, wrapping up the article's view, getting to the assessment center is already a win, isn't it?
It really is. The article frames it as a significant achievement in itself. It's a chance to show what you can do, meet professionals, get that real-world experience.
And valuable even if you don't get the offer this time.
Hugely valuable. The experience prepares you for future assessments, builds confidence. It's not just about this job offer. It's about learning to present yourself, handle pressure, engage constructively, big life skills.
Really useful takeaways there. So, to boil down this deep dive for the learner, what are the absolute must-remembers about assessment centers?
Okay, key things. One, there are these multi-part evaluations looking at skills, knowledge, personality through different tasks. Two, understanding the components and preparing strategically, research, practice, self-reflection is vital. It really boosts your chances.
Preparation is key.
Absolutely. And three, remember the experience itself is valuable learning, no matter the outcome. It helps you grow.
Fantastic summary. So a final thought then for you, the learner, listening to all this, maybe reflect on which preparation tip really hit home for you. Which area feels like your starting point? Pick one and start taking action now. Because that proactive preparation really does change things. It turns what feels overwhelming into, well, your chance to really shine. Thanks for diving deep with us today.